Jackson State head coach Deion Sanders. Primetime, going to Colorado. Shoob, how do you feel about Deion Sanders going to Colorado? We are going to go ahead and give these head coaching hires grades, and then we are going to back up why we gave that grade. So Shoob, what is your grade for this hire? Why do you like or dislike this hire?
A lot of people think that the sentiment with Deion Sanders is either it's going to be a complete success and the guy is going to change the game of college football, or it's going to be a complete and utter disaster and this is going to look really awful in the next 3 years and Colorado is going to be in a very serious financial hole. I am going to meet somewhere in the middle with my grading here because I see a little bit of both here. I have kind of liked some of the moves that Deion's making. It's extremely early. I do like that Sean Lewis was hired as the OC from Kent State. I actually think that was actually a smart hire by Deion.
That was a fantastic hire.
In terms of just straight up giving my grade, if you are Colorado, you just have to keep in mind, you're grading this based off of, one, the coach that they're hiring, and two, based off of the situation that the school is in. And right now, if you are Colorado, like, they were god awful. They were literally one of the worst FBS teams, not just one of the worst Power 5 teams. Like, they would be a 3 or 4 win team in most G5 conferences. Like, they wouldn't win a lot in the G5. That's how bad they were.
That's why I took them in the fade draft.
Exactly, and that was a fantastic pick. They were literally an overtime win versus Cal from going 0-12. But anyways, Deion Sanders is going to raise the floor just by default. I mean, I think any coach would raise the floor by default because there's a low bar. And I think that's part of the reason why Deion took this job, is just because he knows that no matter what, it's either he turns Colorado around into like a bowl team or a Pac-12 contender and he looks like a fantastic coach, or it doesn't work out and he has the out of just being like, oh, well, I inherited you a complete mess. Like, Colorado's not good for any coach. So he has that out. I think that's why part of the reason why he did it. But anyways, I'll just get to the point. My grade for this hire is a B-, meeting somewhere in the middle. I think it is a B- because I do like the fact that Colorado just by default is going to get better players. They are going to probably hit some home runs in the portal. It's not an A because coaching and development is a massive question mark, like a massive question mark. Are they just going to be like Miami or Texas A&M 2.0? You know, you can't just have a lot full of Maseratis, but have a bunch of people that don't know how to drive operating those things. That's kind of what I look at this as. So I'm going to meet somewhere in the middle and say a B-. I'm not going to be super hot takey at this point.
Yeah, Shoob, I look at this from the perspective of who else would Colorado have gotten that could have come in and revitalized that program, or at least put them in the right trajectory. And there are some other guys, but it'd be a more slow, steady, and not necessarily a guaranteed process. And I'm not saying prime time is guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination, but he immediately brings buzz to the program. He immediately brings a slew of transfers that will happen. There will be an influx of transfers that will get people buzzing about Colorado. We already saw 5-star running back transferred Trey Sanders reach out to Colorado's Deion Sanders to try to get on the roster. I suspect we might see him as a Colorado Buffalo next year. Not to mention Travis Hunter, I'm sure, is going to follow suit, along with some of those other talented guys from Jackson State over to Colorado. In addition to that, man, there have been reports that there have been 200 plus transfer portal athletes that have reached out to Colorado to get on this new primetime wagon. And there's like, what, 1,000 kids in the transfer portal as it is right now on the first day. And so
that's a significant percentage there.
That is a significant percentage. And that tells you that he probably has his pick of the litter of all the top talent, because it's probably more so the top guys that are reaching out. And so that's the thing that Deion Sanders brings. He brings swag. He brings a buzz. He brings confidence. All these things Deion Sanders brings to the program. I'm going to give this grade an A-, and here's why, Shoob. I'm not going to give it an A or an A+, primarily because of what you mentioned. Okay, can he develop? Sure. You can point to his time at Jackson State and say he had dominant teams and they were winning. But you also have to point to the talent discrepancy that he had at Jackson State as well. He had a wide variety of talent that was so much higher than the competition that they were playing, so it's hard not to win. It's like Alabama playing just a bunch of like G5 schools.
I was about to say that's like parking Alabama in the Mountain West.
Exactly, and it's kind of it's basically how it was. And so that's why there's no proof of concept for me in terms of how can he coach when the the field is a little bit more even. And so that's going to be an interesting experiment. And that's why it's not A and it's not an A+. However, the thing that saves this and makes it a A-, in addition to the elite recruiting that Primetime will bring in, Primetime has 2 more things going for him that I really, really like for this Colorado hire. The first thing is that he has gotten the administration to play ball and lower academic standards so that he can bring in better athletes, something that no Colorado coach has been able to do before. That is huge for Colorado. That is huge in making sure that they can secure great athletes. I think Colorado doesn't want to see another 1-11 season, and they said, screw it, we will tank the academics just a little bit for the football team. That is a huge thing for Deion Sanders. The second thing, and this is why I'm leaning A- rather than a B or a B+, that hire of Kent State head coach Sean Lewis shows that Deion Sanders is actually a pretty smart guy, because that was a fantastic hire. And I'm really interested to see what he's going to do with his assistants. I'm really interested to see how he's going to develop the culture around the program. But if your OC is capable of putting together a good offense, which that was a great hire, then you can participate more in that head coaching space of making sure the ship is run correctly rather than coaching. So maybe he doesn't have to be the most elite coach. Maybe he doesn't have to be the most elite developer. But if he can identify the guys who can coordinate, who can develop, then you've got a great recipe for success. I think Deion Sanders, the potential outweighs any candidate that they possibly could have gotten. It could be a potential home run hit. It could be a potential grand slam, Shoob. And for that reason, I got to at least give it an A- off sheer potential and the things that Deion Sanders has shown to this point.
Taggart too. Taggart was a great hire. Just, Taggart, didn't
Taggart
work out well as a head coach for him, but we see this a lot where there's some great coaches that are good at recruiting. They're just not meant to be head coaches, and they have to find out the hard way. But they're fantastic assistant coaches, and that's a fantastic assistant coach hire with Taggart. So I'm starting to buy into this a little bit. I'm starting to see a little bit of, like you said, some of the hires he's made so far. I've been like, okay, I think Deion knows what he's doing here.
Even if Deion himself cannot develop Shoob, all he needs are assistants that can. Exactly. That's what matters. And I really like Colorado's trajectory, man. They can't be any worse than they were last year.
That's the thing. We talk about all this. There's so much hype. You just have to keep in mind. Think about how low of a freaking bar we are talking about here for Colorado. Yeah. Like, we were talking about just exceeding the lowest of lowest bars here.
Shoob, my only crux that I don't like about this Deion Sanders job is that he basically already came out and said his son Shedeur Sanders is going to be the starting quarterback. Like he said, Shedeur is going to be the starter. He's going to have to earn it, but he's going to be the starter, is what he said. So to me, it's just, well, I mean, that's nepotism, that's favoritism, and Shedeur was good in his own right at Jackson State. But again, it's like Alabama playing a bunch of Mountain West teams.
What if Drake May reaches out and says, hey, Deion, I want to play Colorado. Is Shedeur the starter anymore?
So that's the thing, man. Like, look at all these great quarterbacks in the transfer portal. And the fact that he is saying that Shedeur is the starter means that, are they going to go for one? Are they going to go for a quarterback in the transfer portal? Or are they going to sit there and hope that Shedeur pans out? I think that would be a mistake. Now, look, Shedeur Sanders could be a great quarterback at the Power 5 level, but why chance it? You should get some competition for that QB room. If I was Colorado, I would look at the litany of quarterback options available to me, and I would consider going to grab one to increase competition in case Shedeur can't cut it at the Power 5 level. You can't waste this talent, and you can't waste the buzz that Primetime has right now. That buzz is enough to get you at least one of these coveted guys. And we'll see, man. It's going to be very interesting, but I think this is a good hire for Colorado.
One last thing. You know who Colorado opens up with next season, first game of the year?
Who is it?
They are at TCU.
Oh,
that's gonna have some hype. That's a week 1 game, a college football playoff team from the previous season, and then Deion's first game. That's gonna have some hype.
Could you imagine the hype if Colorado wins that game?
Oh boy.
Mountaineer Nation, let's ride. Mountaineer Nation, let's ride. Mountaineer Nation, let's ride.